week, or at least I believe I made it to the middle of the week. I'm exhausted. Anyways, it's been kind of difficult over the past, I don't know, couple weeks as far as getting to sleep and anxiety and stuff, because we all know that I am everybody's favorite train wreck. The babies, they seem to be calming down, surprisingly, so they're not dealing with big feelings. They are asking total strangers to be their daddy, though. That's kind of a new thing. So I know what they're going through. They're probably missing their dad, or they probably know that everybody else has a dad, and they honestly do not have a dad. They don't even have a stepdad. They are back to, well, having no one, and I can understand how that can be isolating and lonely and incredibly depressing. I can't imagine what my children are going through with this realization that they are totally growing up in a different way than what they were, let's say, 5 years ago, when there was 2 active parents in their life. And that brings up a lot of mom guilt. When you're talking to schools and you have to explain why your kid is freaking out or why their behavior is escalating, because the body keeps score. It doesn't forget anniversaries. It doesn't forget how you feel when a traumatic event happens. And unfortunately for us, or for my children, that happened to them when they were like 5 and 3, or maybe 6 and 4, or even, yeah, I can't even think about all that. But I was up late last night, and I realized that the Bumblebee lawyer, and I'm going to call him the Bumblebee lawyer because that's where I met him, on Bumble, probably isn't that into me, because he would probably be blowing up my phone if he was, right? But he loves to talk about his career in government. And part of that career was meeting Elizabeth Warren. Not only meeting her, but working with her. And like I said, when I told you guys this guy was kind of like a big deal, well, he was kind of like a big deal. Did a lot of policy stuff. He was a policy advisor. And apparently he's still in contact with Elizabeth Warren. So what does that have anything to do with me? Well, I thought that since I probably have no hope of a date, which is totally fine, I was honestly just interested in a really good, interesting conversation, which is what I got. But if you had the chance to contact Elizabeth Warren and sit down and talk to her, what would you talk to her about? What would your life world-changing moment for the better be? What would you want? See, what I would want is I would want her to know that being the partner of someone who has severe mental illness, of someone who is in and out of emergency rooms, who's in and out of psych wards, in and out of emergency psychiatric services. What I would want is the recognition from local resources that there's help, that our 911 phone calls aren't just going into a bucket where they can never be seen again. But why don't we share that information? Why can't a family call the sheriff's department and hope for a 5150, even if we don't get it? What if that information is stored? So for the next time the sheriff's department comes, they can see a pattern of behavior. They can see a pattern of mental illness. They can see a pattern of people needing assistance and not just waiting all night for the episode to pass or for them to wake up because they took a bottle of something in front of you and law enforcement came out and you cannot prove it because they ate their evidence and they hid their DNR signs in their shoe. And when law enforcement leaves, you're up all night monitoring vitals, being prepared to call again in case they don't wake up or in case their blood pressure is dropped because that's what they took. I kind of want that moment. I kind of don't want a hot date with a hotshot millionaire government attorney, retired. I would rather have a 10-minute sit down with Elizabeth Warren or someone who can change the world for the better and be like, listen, this is what's happening in people's homes. This is what's happening behind closed doors. This is what's happening to communities. You know, I love all of the government legislation and, the SAVE Act, that's a great debate. The shutdown's a great debate. All of those are valid arguments and we can probably sit here all day and debate which one's more important. But for me, I think this issue was the one that's most important. This issue that's not law. This issue that there's no support. This issue of mental illness in America. That's an important issue. Why? Because my life was turned upside down and it was a train wreck. I really do feel that if I had a case and I said, hey, Sheriff's Department, he's going to off himself, go look for him. And like they said, they weren't going to do that, which is perfectly fine. They didn't do that, and I later found his location. But what if we can do better? What if we can do a lot better for our society? And what if this is just a crazy thing that happened and I just happened to meet a very powerful person who could potentially hook me up with some very powerful people and create some very powerful legislation? What would you do? And what should I do if I've already blown my chances of a hot date? Maybe I should just take a leap of faith and be like, hey, I would love to sit down with Elizabeth Warren. I'm a train wreck. But maybe we can do some good, because that's the only reason why I'm here on this channel, is to be a train wreck and to hopefully do some good for you guys or for the world. I don't know. Maybe I have my head up in the clouds. Maybe I'm irrational. Maybe I am really, truly just crazy. But those are my thoughts for today. We'll see what happens with, I will say, humbled, rich government lawyer who's now retired. We'll see. How many times is this ever going to happen to me? Never. And probably should have never happened to me in the first place. But hey, thanks, Bumble, for hooking me up. And lawyers are still sexy as fluff. Bye, guys.